and welcome to another episode of the Philosophy Podcast. I am your host, Controversy, and to my right, ladies and gentlemen, my co-host, none other than Mr.
Darren Love.
And together, we are the Philosophy Podcast. Thank you to you guys for tuning in to a brand new episode. Thank you for tuning in once again this week, guys. And yeah, like we always say, what is on the agenda for this week, mate? What is today's
hot topic?
That's it. What's today's hot topic, mate?
I thought we were talking about love.
Love.
Yeah.
So this week, we're talking all about
love.
Love. So what are your thoughts and your opinions, mate, on love and everything that encompasses that emotion or feeling?
I think people need to learn what love is.
I like that. I like that.
You know, I think there's different ways of loving.
I like that.
Okay, there's, you know, like some people love things and cage them up, basically, don't they? You know what I mean? And envy things and love them.
Yeah.
But some people don't like seeing that and free that. You know what I mean? You know, so I think there's different types of love.
Yeah.
You know, I think. So yeah, what is love?
Yeah.
But money's lovely, isn't it?
Yeah. I think love is more of a feeling, if you see what I mean.
Something that you want to keep forever.
You can't ever fully describe love. You can associate the emotions that you feel when you're feeling loved or in love or whatever, but you can never really fully describe it. It's like it's something you have to experience it. It's something you experience, if you see what I mean.
I think it's an attachment that can grow.
Yeah.
Like for instance, you know, like I've been feeding pigeons for 6 months, right? And I go and feed them now and again, and they're getting to know me, and I'm getting to know them, basically, you know, and they're getting to trust me more, and I'm, you know, do you know what I mean? If you see what I mean.
Yeah.
And I think it's the same when you meet someone, you know, for the first time you're in a relationship. You both want to trust each other. Yeah. And it takes time to get to know each other.
Oh yeah.
It takes time, and you get attached to each other because you've had a few good moments, good memories together, you know, good fun moments together, especially when it comes to sex, whatever. Yeah. You get more attached.
Of course,
you know,
yeah.
You're attached with memories, I think, you know, in a funny way. You know, both of you know that you might have slept together, for instance, last night, you know, do you know what I mean? But nobody else knows.
No one else, yeah.
You know, but so you've got like secrets, I think, in love. You know, I think love can be a kind of secret between two people. Yeah. In a kind of way.
But it should be, I think, personally. I think, you know, if you're going to have a relationship with someone, it should just be between you and that person, you know. Not everything is for public consumption, you know. I think sometimes people allow other people to get too involved in their relationship, and, you know, don't get me wrong, sometimes people are going through shit in relationships, and sometimes people might ask their friends for advice or guidance or, you know, or whatever else, and that's fine, you know. But I think sometimes people do take on board, sometimes allow people sometimes to come too much in between them and their significant other, if you see what I mean, you know, to interfere, you know. Sometimes people have to learn to figure out shit for yourself, you know whether or not the relationship that you're in or whatever the case may be is working for you, you know what I mean, and it's up to you to make a decision, you know what I mean. It's not, you know. Sometimes you might be in a relationship, like I know, okay, let's give an example. I know of a woman years ago, I was living in the Caribbean, who was in a very abusive relationship, yeah? But because the person that she was with had quite a bit of money, yeah? And a bit of like status, and was able to kind of like look after her kind of like financially and shit, her family would encourage her to stay with the man. Regardless, she would go back home, run back home to them every time they would have a big argument, and he would beat her up or whatever, physically beat her up, like, you know, quite badly, whatever, you know. And it happened quite a few times, but every time they would kind of encourage her to go back to him, purely because of financial thing, you know. But in the end, I think she ended up, you know, like kind of leaving, if you see what I mean, saying like, you know, realizing that her self-worth was much greater than any kind of like financial incentive could be worth, if you see what I mean. You know, that wasn't love. You know, someone that's physically beating you up all the time, that's not love, if you see what I mean. You know, that person can't love you. You know, that person, almost like that person hates you, or they're you know, they're trying to control you. You know, but I was just using that as an example because, you know, sometimes, yeah, you know, sometimes people fall in love with someone but don't always know really what, you know, don't really know the person, if you see what I mean, don't really know who they're getting involved with till later down the line, because sometimes in the beginning, as we all know in relationships, sometimes people can be really, it can be a big kind of like,
high.
Yeah, like a high, everyone's in love, it's that early, like, especially if you're both, there's some chemistry there and you're both physically attracted to each other, and you know, like I said, got chemistry, good conversation, you know, whatever, and you know, people, you know, can fall in love quite quickly, and sometimes people don't always know who they're really dealing with till later,
especially when you're young.
Especially exactly when you're young, until later down the line, and then they realise the person that they thought they were with is not really the person that they thought they were, if you see what I mean.
Well, I'm guilty of that one.
People start to reveal their true colours, if you see what I mean. People reveal their true colours eventually, you know. Sometimes people get, like, even sometimes for men, and we've all been, I can say I'm guilty of it too, you know what I mean. When I was younger, not now, because I'm married, you know, I've been married for a long time, but when I was younger too, I can remember being young too, and you know, you might sweet talk a woman and tell her all these lovely things and all these, you know, and you know, because you at the time you're kind of after one thing, if you see what I mean, just to be really, really honest and brutal, you know, because I was young,
and still learning.
And still learning, you know what I mean? So like, and it was kind of like, you know, that's kind of how it kind of worked back then too, if you see what I mean, but in the society that I grew up in, you know what I mean? In order to get a woman's attention, you've got to learn how to talk to her, how to, you know, make her feel good, compliment her, and, or, you know, kind of, you know, and like I said, a lot of men too will make a lot of effort, you know, and women too, it happens from both perspectives too, but I'm just saying, I know, you know, just being real as a man, you know what I mean, a lot of men will make a lot of effort until they get what they want, and then after that, the effort goes away, if you see what I mean. Like, you know, you know, you might have got what you want a few times, and then it's, you know, it's no more effort, if you see what I mean. So
the flower dies.
Sometimes it's not real. Sometimes it's not really real, if you see what I mean. The person isn't really like that. They're just doing that to get, you know, eventually get what they want, and then kind of call it a day. You know what I mean? We've all been guilty of it. You know, I've been guilty of it too.
That's like me. I got married
years ago. You know, but
you know, I was with this woman for 13 years. 2 children with her. You know, and I thought we were made for each other. Honestly, at first.
Yeah.
At first, you know. But then at the end of the day, we were, you know, it turned into a nightmare. To be honest with you, know what I mean, and we were not made to be. If you see what I mean.
Yeah.
And you know, to my shock, I thought we were in love, true love, and all this. You know, and I mean, I feel like I learned really a lot about love actually, you know, because I mean, I love my family just like any other man did, do you know what I mean, and put a lot of effort into it, and then losing it suddenly, right, and it was like being born again a bit, yeah, and you know, it makes me, you know, kind of like look at life in a different angle in a kind of way, you know. So basically I did lose everything I loved, do you know what I mean. I had a lovely garden, a very beautiful wife, 2 lovely children that loved me, whatever, you know. But it went horribly wrong, you know, and I lost absolutely everything I loved, you know what I mean. And I had to sort of, you know, live away, and it's very difficult for me, you know. But then, like, I mean, I mentioned in one episode that, you know, I was very lucky to meet a billionaire family, you know, and I told them my story, and they gave me their boat to Canary Wharf, you know. And I lived on that for a year and a quarter rent-free.
Yeah.
And it was a lifesaver to me, you know what I mean? You know? But even living on that beautiful boat, that cost 1.1 million when it was first made, apparently. Whether it's true, you know, but it's a very beautiful boat that I lived on. Very lucky man in a kind of way, you know, like losing my whole family. And I was stuck in Canary Wharf on this boat away from everything I loved.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, even though I was living on a very beautiful boat, millionaires, a lot of millionaires living around me now, that's the truth, you know. They weren't all millionaires, but I met a lot of people on that marina that are very rich, do you know what I mean? It was a new life completely, new life. But I was very sad inside, do you know what I mean? I lost everything I loved, do you know what I mean? I want with my children, giving them stories every day, do you know what I mean, anymore.
Yeah.
It was really fun, it was like being born again, let's put it that way, you know, it was very difficult. You know, and I think I've learned what love is really, you know, in a kind of way, you know, looking back at my life now with my family and whatever, I did try my real best, you know, I was working hard, whatever, but I think like love itself and everything is really very difficult to learn in a funny way, you know. It's like, for instance, I think I had 2 jobs, you know, and then when I come home, I'm spending time with the children. I wasn't spending enough time with my wife, really, I don't think, you know, and I want appreciating her, you know, and I've kind of like learned a lot about appreciation now in a funny way, you know, to appreciate more. And going back in time, when I look at some of the arguments that we did have, I felt like I should have understood a little bit more than I did do, but I didn't, do you know what I mean? You know, it takes time to learn these things, do you know what I mean? You know, so love, you know, like say there's lots of different ways of loving a spider. You know, some people hate them, some people love them. You know, and I'm one of these, I'm somebody that's really learned to love almost everything in life, to be honest with you. You know, like every tree, every flower, every bird. And I mean, I read this week actually, because I sort of like, I've always loved birds since I was 5 years old, for 50 years now. There's 700,000 birds that die on road traffic accidents each year, you know. And I know there's not so many birds flying about in the sky, you know. It used to be a lot more beautiful, the sky, do you know what I mean? Birds make the sky look beautiful, you know, and they're declining in large numbers, do you know what I mean?
Well, the whole natural ecosystem is kind of...
It is,
It's kind of declining significantly, isn't it, you know?
It is.
Insects to animals to birds to you know.
And I think I really feel like I kind of partly understand the reason why, really, you know, like man invented the car, beautiful machine it is, takes everyone a long way,
A to B,
whatever, different places, whatever, you know, and slowly in time everyone's got one today, do you know what I mean? And you know, the birds are, you know, find it very difficult to survive in this very dangerous world, do you know what I mean, that we're living in, do you know what I mean? It's all about cars today, do you know what I mean? And a lot of people love their cars, as you know. Some people love them so much they might have 10 of them, do you know what I mean, whatever. You know, and you think, you know, like, people used to love shove-up cars in a funny way, if you see what I'm saying. You know, and it's kind of like, you know, say a family, alright, and a man's got a car or whatever, he's going to work every week. On Sunday he's cleaning the car, do you know what I mean? He's not sort of spending time with his family or his wife. He's sort of polishing his lovely car or whatever. You know, and you know some people really sort of like buy top quality cars, whatever, and they cost lots and lots of money. But my opinion of them, alright, I don't care whether they're old, brand new, or whatever, I don't like them. Do you know what I mean? You know, and at the end of the day, you know, like, my opinion, you know, like, some people get upset, like, for instance, birds pooing on their car, all the time. And they hate the birds because of it, you know, and they get angry, you know. And they want to shoot them with a gun and things, honestly, it's just the truth of it, they love their cars, you know. And my opinion, you know, and people might not like me saying this, you know, I wish cars weren't invented, for one, and I don't mind birds pooing on cars. I find it quite funny because I don't like them, do you know what I mean? And I wish people kind of, you know, I don't understand why people don't love birds more, you know, do you know what I mean, rather than cars, if you know what I'm saying. You know, and I'm not putting people down that do drive, whatever, right, because we're living in the world that, you know, a lot of people have been driven to drive by force in a funny way, you know. It's kind of like you got to drive because this is the Industrial Revolution, you've got to get to work now to A to B in a kind of way, you know. And some people honestly are forced to get cars, even though they don't really want to drive. You know what I mean? It's just it's that kind of world we're living in. Do you know what I mean? You know, like people are forced to buy TV licenses as well, aren't they? Do you know what I mean? In this country, whatever.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. It's true.
But yeah, I think like people's forgetting how to love because of the love of materials in a funny way. You know?
Too many distractions and shit.
Diamonds and
commercialism.
Entertainment as well in a funny way.
True.
Yeah,
a lot of people are being fed a false narrative, I think, when it comes to love today, you know? That love has to be a financial kind of exchange. It's in all honesty, a lot of social media, a lot of like media in general, not only social media, but media in general is painting this picture today where everything's just financial. It's and of course if you get married to someone or whatever, it is kind of like a business agreement, because obviously you're both working together as one, as a team together financially to build your future. That's just kind of the way it works, generally speaking. But yeah,
I say a lot of marriages or whatever break up because of money, don't they? Like the bills are too high, it's stressful. And like the price of living's going right up now. What's that doing to everyone apart from making them more stressful in a funny way,
Yeah.
Or they're pulling their hair out in a kind of way, people like 10 years back, people could afford to sort of maybe go on holiday.
Oh yeah, true, yeah.
Once a year, But people can't afford to do that now, or they can't really afford to go out for a meal, once a week or something like that, or it's really taking our spending away.
People feel a lot more restricted, don't they?
Well, it's very difficult to save up now, isn't it? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You see what I mean? They're making it hard.
And the thing is too, like, I think today too, with social media as well, it's not helping in terms of like relationships and stuff like this too as well, because going back to the whole, like I said, everything seems like a financial exchange today in a lot of ways. It's almost like, I think social media is almost painting this narrative that every man out there has to be earning like 6 figures a year, kind of, if you see what I mean. And like a lot of people have said in the past, like that there's only a small percentage of men out there that are actually earning 6 figures and above every year after taxes, of course. So women need to there's a lot of women out there, I think, today that have a false expectation, false kind of reality, because they're being fed this thing by social media that every man is earning this kind of money, where the reality is that a man might be earning a good 60,000-70,000 if he's, if he's an electrician or one of these kind of people that you own your own business and you can kind of charge what you charge and you make a good living. But if he's, and that's still a good living, especially if you're earning, if the woman is earning, his wife or whoever's earning some money as well, bringing in a little bit of money as well on top of that, they've got a very good life. But I think this narrative is being pushed today that a man, in order for a man to get a woman today, he has to be earning over 6 figures and shit. And I think women need to start understanding that, like I said, like many others have said before, there's only a small percentage of men out there that are actually earning that. So you have to, you can't just be settling for the football player or the artist, the superstar artist, or the, or whatever. You know what I mean? There's plenty of us good men out there that. That earn decent money, that that can still have a good life. Life might not be super extravagant and lavish, but if you're earning a good amount of money, you're still able to have a nice decent house, be able to you're not struggling financially. You can have a few holidays a year. You and your wife and your kids will be well looked after, and everyone's happy, and But you might not be able to. Go into Harrods and spend £50,000 in a day on, but you're still going to have a good life, if you see what I mean, And I think, like you said earlier, people need to start learning how to love again, like understanding what relationships are really about. Like, it's more than just, it shouldn't just be the underlying basis of your relationship shouldn't just be purely financial, if you get what I'm saying. It needs to have some real some love, like we're talking about. It has to be real. It has to be genuine. You know, genuine intentions there. You know, for it to work. You know, from both parties. You know, both individuals. You know, they both have to genuinely want to be with each other and want to work together and communicate and etc. Be a team. You know, just you know. So yeah.
I mean, but going back, I mean, I feel that I did appreciate my wife, but what it was, my ex-wife, sorry, what it was, I was working too many hours really to sort of, you know, I wish there was more hours in the day basically, if you see what I mean, like 40 hours a day, and I might have had more time for her, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
You know, but I don't think she appreciated me either, to be honest with you, know what I mean? You know, and you think like, there we were, sort of like, financially sort of, you know, I was working quite hard, you know, and I had a number of jobs, whatever, and I was really sort of paying all the bills, whatever. We were married, you know, that was a financial commitment. But there she goes on the internet and meets somebody else, and that's it. It's the end of it, like that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's like a match going up, do you know what I mean? You know, and it's like, you know, it don't really matter really, you know, like if it don't really matter about like financial agreements, whatever. Once you fall out of love, that's it. Do you know what I mean? And it can turn into a nightmare. Do you know what I mean? And I mean, that's one biggest regret I've ever done, really. You know, because I really did love my wife. You know, we met, we were in love. I felt like it's true love, you know. And then had one son, and then when he was sort of like 5 years old, we had a daughter.
Yeah.
You know, once she had that daughter, right, she changed. You know what I mean? She kind of like got post-natal depression and all this, you know. And you got to kind of take all this stuff on.
Yeah, you do.
You know, and she had like a few mental illnesses. You know, she wasn't bad like mentally mental, but she would have a few sort of whiteouts and whatever, you know, and crazy. I don't know. Do you know what I mean? And sometimes she'd go out drinking, especially on the last year, right? And she was drunk, right? And not only did I have to look after, you know, my children while she went out, whatever, and stay put while she was going out with somebody else, I had to sort her out when she come out and she was being sick on the toilet. You know